Binding language builds clarity and trust. In communication, language is not just a vehicle for ideas, it's a tool to commit, define, and build trust. When someone says, "I'll take full responsibility, I promise to deliver by Friday," or "I'm here for you," they're not just speaking, they're binding themselves. Clear, directional, and accountable language lays the foundation for transparency and emotional safety in any relationship. Binding language doesn't just communicate, it creates a reliable space for communication to stand on. When you dare to speak with commitment, you don't just bring clarity, you offer a promise others can trust. Binding language refers to statements that convey responsibility and direction, typically structured with a personal subject I, a clear action verb, commit, take responsibility, and a specific time frame by Friday at 5 p.m. When you say, "I will send the report by 5 p.m. Friday," you're not just informing, you're shaping expectations, offering a measurable and verifiable promise. In a world where words are often devalued, the act of speaking clearly, truthfully, and with accountability becomes a value-generating behavior. Listeners feel guided, respected, and safe to act on your word. That's where trust begins. When speech creates clarity and meaning leads to action. "I'll do it by Friday and I'll try to get it done soon," may sound similar, but their impact is vastly different. The first is a clear, verifiable commitment that builds trust. The second is vague, non-committal, and leaves the listener guessing. In team or leadership communication, vagueness is the seed of disappointment. Every unbound statement creates a gap between expectation and outcome. In contrast, binding language not only conveys information, it conveys agency. The one who speaks with commitment stands at the center of responsibility, and that is the mark of someone others can rely on. In team settings, clarity in speech cultivates psychological safety. When someone says, "I'll finish this section by 10 a.m. tomorrow," others know they can plan accordingly. In contrast, phrases like "I'll try" or "probably yes" introduce ambiguity, and trust can't grow in the dark. Binding language helps team members define responsibility boundaries, reduce misunderstandings, and make commitments actionable. Teams that speak clearly often perform better and trust deeper because everyone knows where they stand. Most importantly, verbal transparency creates an atmosphere where trust doesn't have to be earned. Daily, it's simply felt. A leader leads not only with strategy, but with language. Statements like, "I take responsibility for this decision," or "I promise to follow up by Tuesday," not only clarify role, they inspire trust. A manager who speaks decisively shows up fully, no evasion, no hesitation. Binding language allows leaders to draw lines between sharing and avoiding, between transparency and concealment. When leaders use language to bind themselves, the team senses true presence, and loyalty is built not out of fear, but trust. Binding language builds trust, but it also backfires when commitments go unmet. If someone says, "I guarantee I'll fix this by tomorrow," and fails to do so, the value of their word erodes. Repeat it, and people stop trusting not just the words, but the person. That's why using binding language is an ethical act, not a tactical one. Real commitment isn't grammar, it's the blend of ability and honest limits. If unsure, say, "I need to check further, and will respond by this afternoon." That's also a commitment rooted in truth, not forced politeness. In a strategy meeting, a young staff member was criticized for delaying progress. The room went silent. But instead of defending himself, he said, "I take full responsibility and commit to delivering the final draft by 9 a.m. tomorrow. If I don't, I'll step away from the project." The clarity and resolve in his words shifted the room. No one asked him to do it, but his statement revived trust. The next morning, at 8:45, the draft arrived. From a mistake, he turned the entire team's energy around. Because sometimes, clear commitment opens the door to redemption. No apologies needed. We speak not just to deliver information, but to build a flow between people and reality. Every commitment we voice is not mere speech. It's a deliberate act that says I'm present. I'm accountable. I know what I'm doing. In today's fast-talking world, binding statements become rare landmarks of reliability. The trustworthy aren't the loudest, they're the ones who speak and leave others feeling safe. To achieve that, you don't need fancy words, just clarity, resolve, and commitment rooted in presence. Binding language isn't a linguistic trick, it is an act of direction and responsibility. Every clear, committed sentence invites the listener into a space of safety, transparency, and trust. The person who binds themselves with words is someone who shows up fully in their work, in their relationships, and in their integrity. Trust isn't born from fluency, it's born from intentionality, definition, and presence. If you believe words carry weight, start practicing clarity in every sentence. Don't try commit. Don't speak to impress. Speak to build trust. If this piece gave you a new perspective, like to spread responsible communication, share to inspire trust-based dialogue in your circle, and follow to continue exploring the power of language with depth and integrity.